Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the next in my series of Cozy Things Chats. I am very excited to be joined today by my friend Amy from the channel Amy at Hearthridge. So, Amy, thank you for joining me for a Cozy Things Chat.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Kate. I was so excited, a little nervous, but excited. So,
Well, I am really looking forward to seeing what you pick. And a couple people had said to me, like, you should ask Amy.
aw,
Yeah, just because the kind of the aesthetic of your channel is very much cozy things and just wanting to have sort of this sense of respite with the art and that you are interacting with in your free time. And you enjoy a wide variety of literature. And I mean, in there is kind of like domestic fiction. You enjoy kind of a wide array of classics. Like classic is a category, not so much as a genre. And I think maybe around middle grade March, is that when we found each other, or was it
yeah.
before that?
Boy, I don't know. I think you popped up in my, like recommended
Hmm.
channels. So I don't know if that's just because of the, like we have similar tastes, maybe the videos
Yeah.
I was watching. I was watching a lot of Emma at the Bookish Princess. And so
Uh-huh.
I don't know though I don't remember.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Who knows?
Yes. Sorry, I have a bad memory.
No, that's okay. All right. So I guess we will just get into the cozy things. So,
Yeah.
what is your first cozy thing?
Okay. So this is so hard because, you have so many different cozy things over your life. So I kind of aimed for things that are really, I love right now. So,
Mm,
where there's so many. But I think I was like, okay, how do I put this into words? But I think my first cozy thing is kind of tangible and intangible, like ephemera. So, like pieces, bits and bobs of history. But what I mean by intangible too is just like, lists of things that are beautiful and, bits of poetry that you collect and little quotes that you collect and just all of that kind of stuff really means a lot to me for some reason. And I don't
mm,
know why it does, but I was kind of thinking about because there's been the scripture, it's in the Old Testament, and it's called Don't Despise the Day of Small Things. And I think, as a stay-at-home mom, a lot of stuff can get lost, in just our dailiness. And so just having like a little memory, and it can be actual physical, like a card from someone or a beautiful piece of art, or it can be, a memory and a smell, or, just like these little intangible bits, that mean a
mm.
lot. And for some reason, that's probably my number one thing, but it's so hard to explain. I think the main way though that I do honor that is gratitude lists. So I will take and try to find small things in my day, the things we do as stay-at-home homeschooling moms or anybody, women working and, they kind of, it's hard to remember. And so I try to, list down one or two things that really jumped out to me that blessed me, and so
Mm.
I think that's probably one of my most favorite cozy things that I try to practice, just making lists and saving them and remembering. And I use a lot of that stuff for bookmarks, like a
Oh,
concert that I went to with my husband, and I might have put like a little note on the back saying, oh, this was beautiful, or there was a beautiful line. And then I remember it when I find it, so that's what I mean by that. So I don't know if that makes sense, hopefully, but
oh,
um,
it does. I love that.
yeah.
And that to me seems very in keeping like what a character in like an Ellen Montgomery or Elizabeth
Mhm.
Goudge book
Yeah.
or Maud Hart Lovelace would do,
Right.
saving those things,
Yeah.
treasuring the
Mhm.
memories that you have, because just knowing just how fleeting time is.
Right.
Um, yeah,
Mhm.
that's really
Yeah.
special. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. My second one is books, of course. And so so I couldn't narrow. I was like trying to think of what I would classify the genre as, but I just kind of said bookish or domestic type memoirs or essays. So this is nonfiction, most of these, and I'm just going to show them really quickly. I probably only talk about
Excellent.
one. So anyway, Mitten Strings for God by Katrina Kenison is her story of her little boys and just dailiness. And it's just lovely. It's just really sweet reflections. And this is my favorite. And I read this when I had lots of little kids, and it just really blessed me. So, and then she had, this is when they were a little older, The Gift of the Ordinary Day. And then she has a third that's when they're teens and in college, and they're just lovely. I think I prefer the little one, the one with the younger Mitten Strings. But, and of course, our dear Susan Branch.
Oh,
yeah.
This is
Susan Branch.
one that I haven't read yet.
Okay.
So I'm thinking this summer I might treat myself to it.
And I mean, I think I've heard rumors that she's doing another, that she's now in England. And she's gathering more for another. That's what I've heard. I know. So, and then I just finished A Severe Mercy. That's another kind of bookish. And this is a little deeper and a little, I would say, more, a little sad, and definitely more on faith, and theology and religion. So it's not something I would read, if I was, I don't know if this is super uplifting, I would say, but it's beautiful. So,
yes, I love that book.
And then Gladys Tabor is another one of those.
She's one of those authors that I need to read.
Okay. And I mean, she has a lot of books, and they kind of can start to run together, because they are set seasonally or monthly. And so, but they're just so the domestic, just joyful things of cooking. And she has a lot of dogs. So if you love animals, you will love her.
How fun.
My favorite, I think, is it's actually letters between her and a friend. And that one is Sugarbridge. I think it's Stillmeadow to Sugarbridge. So her house to the other woman's house. So, and then I use the philosophy from my homeschool from Charlotte Mason. She's a British educator from the turn of the century. And there's a book called For the Children's Sake. And that's kind of, people love that one. It's kind of a gentle intro to her thoughts. Well, people don't know that the same author had done For the Family's Sake. I don't know if you're familiar with this.
I hear so many people speak about For the Children's Sake, but not about this one.
Yeah. And so I love both of them, but this one is just neat, and it's about the importance of home in everyone's life. And even if you don't have a traditional family. So she talks about singles, she talks about, and it's just really neat. It's really just, if you love books, if you like a bookish life, this is just really nice. And then, of course, Jane Brockett. I'm trying to go fast here. Jane Brockett. This one is so essays about domestic things. It's just lovely. But the one I really want to talk about, and I don't know if you've heard of this, and I don't have a dust jacket, but it's Bequest of Wings, A Family's Pleasure with Books by Annis Duff. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
Okay. And it's just lovely. It's a woman who just decided, her and her husband with their 2 children, just decided to use books to educate them, and music and art. And it's really well done. So
wow.
I highly recommend that one. So.
Oh, that is so cool. And so what my question is,
yes,
when I hear about that, because I do really like, Charlotte Mason's philosophy. But then just with my kind of like energy level and type A personality, I do love, we use like an open and go curriculum for math and reading. But what did those kinds of people who have that philosophy, like how do the kids learn different math skills? I'm sure they do, but I just don't know how it looks in that kind of a family.
Yeah, well, for sure we have a curriculum. So we would have a curriculum. So we would pick something that works with our family, and, so the same thing you're doing really for math.
Okay.
In the early years, they might use a hands-on, some hands-on things, but, really she had a math curriculum. So, and she just had teachers, a math teacher, so it was the same. So
I see.
Oh,
very cool. And I'm sure there are like so many book recommendations within that book.
Oh my word. Yeah. And especially really great classic children's books. I'd highly recommend that. But be
Excellent.
forewarned, some of them are out of print. So be forewarned. Get out your book budget. So the third thing is I really love right now, and this actually really started during the COVID stuff, is wide, expansive soundtracks. Just these ones of beautiful feeling, just kind of take you away. And a few of them, I'm sure you're familiar with, like the Poldark soundtrack.
Yes.
Lord of the Rings. Just, and actually my friend told me, she said the old movie, what is that, Dances with Wolves or something? She's like, you should try that one. It's really beautiful. So I have to try that. But
I know that is one that when I'll put on like movie themes, radio stations on Spotify, that is one that pops up a lot.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah. So I have to try that. But I know on YouTube, there's, for some reason, I think it's called, his title is Montana Cello, which is, I think that's what it is. But it is gorgeous. And he had, cello is so haunting. And so I love listening to him when I'm like reading or, doing something. So, and then I love Studio Ghibli, the fun, light, their soundtrack is just so fun. And my kids love it too. So.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I've made a playlist for like spring and summer, and there's definitely some Kiki's Delivery Service songs on that playlist.
Yeah, they're so happy, I think,
Yes. Yeah, it's very safe world.
Yes. So then my fourth thing is poetry. And I've gone ups and downs with poetry because some poetry, you really have to work hard for it, to especially the old classics, Wordsworth and, all of these guys. You really have to work hard to feel like you can connect with it. And if they're long poems, that can be hard. So over the years, I found a few that I really love. And actually, the ones I'm sharing are modern. So I feel like they're definitely more accessible for people. And so my first one would be Jane Kenyon. And so this is one of hers that I really love.
I've never heard of her.
Yeah, Otherwise. And I don't know if you've heard of Billy Collins. He's another modern poet. And he has similar stuff, although he's more humorous. And he's a really good starting point, because people can then, they connect with them a little bit, So she has
excellent.
Jane Kenyon has this book of essays too that's just wonderful. And she had this beautiful essay about 100 white daffodils, and my son and I actually planted 100 white daffodils after I had read this. And it was so fun. And then they still come up, some of them are coming up still. And it was just neat. It touched me.
Wow.
Yeah, and then another really great modern poet is Abigail Carroll, and she does a lot of nature and faith inspired. I think she's Anglican, and so it's just really neat. And then this is a newer one. I think this has been around on BookTube. And yeah, the thing is, I really like MacFarlane. He writes a lot about words. He's a word lover, and I think that's what attracts me to his poetry. Is he's just a word lover, and then of course with Jackie Morris's gorgeous illustration.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I mean so I highly recommend this one, for an intro poetry. So, and then this is a really great kids one. This is like been my favorite kids one over the years. And it's simple nature poetry, and it's just really fun. And then my last one, and this one basically got me through COVID, this small collection of Mr. Barry, Wendell Berry. He writes a lot of fiction, but I've had a hard time with his fiction. I don't know, have you read any of his fiction?
I read and I loved Hannah Coulter.
Yeah.
And then I've read Looking Backward, which I liked, but Hannah Coulter was like tops for me. And then Nathan Coulter I liked, but just so far, Hannah Coulter has been the peak experience. But it had not occurred to me that he had written poetry. So that definitely seems worth investigating.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I guess I think I find his poetry more accessible than his fiction. For some reason, isn't that funny? some
That
authors.
is.
I know, but I do love Hannah Coulter. But anyway, I highly recommend this, especially this Piece of Wild Things poem. It's really lovely. So. And then Psalms, the Book of Psalms. This is my Bible. Book of Psalms is just so lovely.
Is it a journaling Bible that you have?
Yeah. It's just got, it has, on the sides. And I'm not real fancy with it. I have them, but I'm not real fancy. Yeah. So that's poetry. So, and my number 5 is I was trying to figure out how to clump all of this together, but so I of course just adore journals and pens and stationery.
Yes.
They're so cozy to me. I have so many stickers and washi tape and I love pen paling. And I kind of was led to me romanticizing the post office.
Well, have you watched any Lark Rise to Candleford?
Yes.
That to me was just like, oh, the post office.
I know. Well, and the kids laugh at me because I'm like, go get the post, which we say mail, of course, Aaron, yes. Good old Wisconsin, but they're like, oh, mom's watching British something or so. But yeah, and like stamps, I'm like addicted to pretty stamps, and I'll like look at stamp hashtags on Instagram. It's pathetic.
Oh no, that sounds delightful.
Anyway, I love that. I have way too much washi tape. Occasionally I'll have. At one point, I had a lot of pen pals. I haven't in recent years had as many, because you just you want to be faithful and keep up with it, So
yeah.
But yeah, so my 6th thing is I actually, at this point in my life, don't watch a lot of shows. And you always have so many great recommendations, and I'm always writing them down. I'm like, I'm not going to get to these before I die. But I don't know if it's because my house is loud. I have a bigger family, I don't know why it is, but if I'm going to watch something, it's usually BookTube or something on YouTube, like something I want to learn or, and then I'm usually reading. So people are always like, how do you read so much? I'm like, I really don't watch a ton of shows. I just I don't know. It's funny. Do people ever say that to you? But you like shows and you read a lot. So it's just funny.
Yeah, and I go through phases, and I'm and I'll be recommending something, and it's over the course of a month that somehow I watched a few episodes of something.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And also when I usually do, it's like when I'm too tired to read. Sometimes, that's when I pick. But yeah, I know plenty of booktubers that are like, no, I don't really like. I just choose to read instead.
Right.
Yeah, and if you just have so many books that you want to get to.
I know.
It's like when you are an adult and you have free time, you can just decide how you want to budget your time.
Right. And I think the book, and to be honest, BookTube has taken, because I like watching BookTube.
Yes.
So
I know some people too that say like, I used to watch TV and then I started watching BookTube, and that's what I watch instead of TV.
Right. Yeah. Yes. And I do think it has something to do with the loudness, because I don't really do a lot of audiobooks. I just, because, I'm busy here. I'm at home a lot, and I'm in the country. I'm pretty remote, so I don't know. If I'm driving, I'll listen to a podcast or audio, but and I don't drive much. So anyway, but I did want to share 2 that I really enjoy. And of course, one is Totoro.
Oh, this is one I haven't actually seen yet.
And my daughter got me Totoro socks for Mother's Day. So
those are so cute.
No, I thought that was cute. And so, to be honest, this doesn't really have much of a plot, but it's really like it's sweet. I wrote down because I didn't want to forget. There's just this. He's so good. Hayao Miyazaki is the director. He's so good at like the stillness of nature and also the movement of nature. So it'll be like nothing happening, but the wind will be blowing, and he's highlighting that. And and it's just, I don't know, I really love that. And he's very good with children. He makes them really seem like real children to me. And this sibling and the family love in this is so sweet. The mother is ill, and the dad he moves to the country and bikes back and forth to the bus to go to the university where he's a teacher. And the two little girls have all these adventures. And it's kind of neat. It's just like starting afresh. And it sort of has this undercurrent of like facing our demons and just it's just got some really neat things that I especially appreciate, just the sweet nature aspect to it. And just don't expect a huge funny plot. It does have some, but it's just and there's just some weird fantastical things, like a little tiny bit creepy. So there's a cat bust in here, a bust that's a cat with many legs, and he's slightly creepy. And my kids were like, but we really like the cat bust now. So it's just so funny.
I think it seems like he incorporates like fairy tale elements into his stories, but that to me sounds like a less creepy version of Spirited Away, which I've tried watching that a couple times, and that gets really creepy.
No Face is extremely creepy. That black and white creature or whatever. Some of my kids can't watch that one. It's a little bit, and my oldest tried one of his other ones, and she's like, Mom, it was so creepy. So we won't, we don't watch all of them,
Yeah.
So then my second one is I like 100 Foot Journey. Have you ever seen that?
I haven't seen this one.
Okay.
It's always looked enticing.
Oh, good. Yeah. So I realize this about myself, partial to like a fresh start or second chances. So Persuasion is my favorite, Jane Austen.
Oh,
Second chance, So, but this is just so neat. It just really talks about grief. It has a lot of really interesting things about racial tension, but done in such a really interesting way where you're seeing both sides, the French and the Indian people from India. And it's just the cultural misunderstandings that have been growing to understand one another, an underdog theme. The French countryside is just so lovely.
Oh.
And then the main character, the girl, Marguerite, she has the most delicious, darling dresses that I want, all of them.
Oh.
I wish I could wear them. I wish I could just wear them and ride her little bicycle through the French countryside.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. So, and there's just really neat themes. And one of the big things is it is so neat how certain things, like BookTube, I'd actually count that as one of these, where there's certain things that just cross all cultural divides. And in this case, it's food. So they are, we have a French cook, and then we have this family who are making Indian cuisine. And it's just so neat how that crosses this divide and they come to really love each other. And so I really love this. So
that sounds delightful.
Yeah, I love it. So then
another kind of food bringing people together one, it makes me think of is Babette's Feast. Have you ever seen that? Yeah.
I love that one. I think that one's really good. And that's another one where, that 100 Foot Journey does have a plot, but it's another one where it's just kind of slow, gentle, it's not real fast moving. So and I think I'm on my 7th year. My 7th thing is I was trying to think, I love watching when you were like, I was watching one of your back videos and you were putting lipstick on or something. And I'm really bad with like hair and makeup and stuff, but I do have a few things that I really like. And they are mainly from, this is their body scrub, which I have been like hoarding. And it's from New Life Lavender and Cherry Farm. And this is near Wisconsin Dells, Wisconsin. I don't know if you're familiar with it's a touristy area with tons of like water parks and so it's north of Madison, which is the capital of but they're near there. So I travel there sometimes, but they have, they have like face sprays and they have like shea butter. But what I love about this is normally lavender is a little too, I don't really like some of the fakey lavender smells. They're just terrible. They actually make me feel sick. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but this is so lovely. They grow it there at their farm and it just smells so good. And so I really enjoy, and I didn't realize that there's actually like culinary lavender and the lavender they use I didn't understand that. They have different types of lavender that you eat and then lavender that you would put into like a, like this. But this has like, rosemary, juniper berries, just so many apricot seeds. I mean, it's just, it smells so wonderful.
That's lovely.
So, yeah, and they make like lavender lattes and lavender ice cream and lavender cherry pie at this place. I mean, it's really cool. So those I really love. And then I have eczema really bad, and I just love this Aveeno. It's like no eczema therapy. And then they have a calm and restore. It's so nice because I have kind of oily skin. Well, this does not affect me, and it keeps it moisturized. Otherwise, I'm always washing my face with these harsh things, and I would dry out. But then this one I love. I love it so much. So those were kind of, I thought, be something different.
My son has he has eczema, and it really gets bad in the winter. This year was the best we've done with it. I started just every day, starting in October, every night we would do Cetaphil is the lotion that we use. And so it's when we would get behind that, then it's like we would have to do the steroid cream, and like it would be on like the backs of his knees, and we'd have to then wrap his legs up in plastic wrap to have the cream like really soak in. And so now we're like, if we just start ahead before when it's like he's really getting dried out, it seemed to do okay this year. So I hope, he can outgrow it, but obviously they're adults with eczema. So hopefully he'll just be good at taking care of it himself. If it's still there.
Yeah. Well, I might have to try what you mentioned. And also that is a good point about winter being, worse. So it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I know. I've heard though, like it depends on some people. Like some people, when it's humid in summer, that's when like theirs flares up. But this has never been an issue in the summertime.
Yeah, it's pretty miserable. It can keep you back from sleep and stuff. And,
I am so sorry. That sounds not fun at all.
Yeah. So I think I'm on my 8th thing, and I wanted to talk about illustrated books. Illustrations I love. There's so many too. It's just so hard, it's like, but I'll just highlight a couple. And the first one is, she's a woodcut illustrator, Mary Azarian. And so this is just one of hers.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so she had, this is like this is from my little 3-year-old. This is just the alphabet. And it's just, I'll try to get to,
Wow.
So this is really beautiful it follows the seasons, and it has her artwork and someone's memoir observations of the seasons. And I really enjoy it. So like in the fall, I'll get out and I'll open up to the fall, section.
Yeah.
So, and she does such a good job with like the light on the snow. And I don't know, it's just wonderful. And then my second person is, I'm sure you might be, I'm sure you're familiar. I would think you would be, but it's Trina Schwart Hyman, I think her name is. And she does like the kitchen night. She does a lot of children's books. The illustrations. This is, I'll show her name so it's easier to see.
Oh, yes. We have the St. George and the Dragon done by her.
Right. I couldn't remember all of them, but I'll try to quickly flip to one that I just love.
Wow.
So this is Little Red Riding Hood, and it's just delightful. So, and then the third illustrator who I really love so much is Irene Haas. And my favorite is the Maggie B. And I love it.
Is that paper art?
I don't think it is, but it looks like painting. It looks like painting. But it's just so cute. It's about a little girl and an adventure she has with her brother on a ship, and animals and cooking. I mean, talk about domestic. It's so cute. So, and she has a few. This is so cute, like the little moon theater. I'm sharing my light. It's like a little caravan or whatever. Yeah. So anyway, those are my 3 favorite probably right now. I know there's so many, but those are probably my favorite. So lovely. Then my 9th one is I have my Barnes little earrings on here. Hard to see them. They're little barn swallows, and I love barn swallows. I don't know. Do you see them by your place?
I don't think I do.
Are you in the town? Or? I can't remember.
We're in the suburbs. Sometimes
Okay.
I have seen swallows, but I don't know like how many different kinds of swallows are they.
Right.
So are most of them barn swallows?
There is other ones. There's like tree or cliff. I mean, there's a lot of different kinds.
Oh, wow.
These are pretty distinctive because they have kind of a split long tail. It's split. And so you'll see them in a lot of art and things. But I have a 5-year journal and I've kept track, and ours have come back around the end of April for the last 2 years.
Wow.
So yeah, and I just love them. We live in a country property, remote, and they nest. They have mud like nests in the barn. On a building they would make a nest. So, but they swoop and they swirl and they're just so lovely. And there's so many thoughts that just come from watching them. They're kind of iridescent bluish feeling, and they have a red or a russet type color here, and then a white belly. So,
wow. Yeah, no, I think the ones that I've seen are more gray and black. And it's funny, from a distance, they come out at dusk, and I think they're bats, and I'm like, oh, it's bats. But but then I realize it's swallows, so it's okay.
Yeah. And so our Charlotte Mason co-op had just done the composer. His name, it looks like Ralph, but I guess it's pronounced Rafe, but it's Rafe Von Williams. Oh. And I wasn't familiar with him at all, but he has a piece called The Lark Ascending. And a lark is different than a swallow. It's a different bird. But this piece just reminds me so much of the swallows. It's beautiful. It's violin. And I was listening to this morning, and it was so lovely and peaceful. I'm like, well, can you play this at my funeral?
I know. It is such a beautiful piece, and it's just so evocative, and I love it. It's very transporting. Yeah.
So, and then of course we cannot end without Ella Montgomery, my favorite. I know everybody knows about her, and I couldn't find what I wanted to show one of mine, but I can find it. But yeah, so I'll start with my favorite, Emily. Emily, I have mixed feelings with the Emily series because of the romance. I know a lot of people are like, Dean Priest, and I don't know. Have you read it yet? Or?
I haven't actually read the Emily books.
Oh no, I shouldn't spoil it for you. He's just a little older than her, so some people feel a little worried about it. So you'll have to see what you think about it.
Now, I know my sister-in-law, she loves the Emily books, but she was saying she loves the first 2 and then she doesn't like the last one. Is that how you feel?
Well, I like all of it because I think it's supposedly Maud's, her most like herself. So people think put Anne, herself into Anne, but that's not true. Emily is actually more herself, similar, because Emily wants to write. She loves to write. And so my favorite is the second one, Emily Climbs, because this is really about her feelings of writing and trying to get out what she sees in the image in her mind onto paper, and just her adventures. And it's just so lovely. That's my favorite one. I love it. And I actually read that one more than I read the Anne series. So
I think it's fun when you just, what you really, really love, even if, like you said, you just love Ellen Montgomery, but I think it's great. And especially if you just reread, even though your favorite in the series. Yeah. Like one of my friends was talking about, she was reading through Harry Potter and she's like, I just don't know if I'm willing to do the 7th one. And her friend was like, then don't do it. Like, just pick the one that you want. This is reading for leisure. There are no rules.
Right. And she knows what happens, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I read the whole series, the answers through in my first pregnancy, and then I ended up naming my child Anne with an E.
You ended up what?
naming my daughter Anne with an E.
Oh, how fun.
So yeah, so I have
think
the
it's such
memory.
a pretty name. I know she like really bemoans her name and thinks it's not fancy enough. But I think it's just so pretty and elegant, like Mary. It's another name that I just think is really elegant. And what's funny too is Maud Hart Lovelace. She in high school for a while, she actually started spelling her name with an E.
Really?
Yes, she did, because she felt like her name was so plain.
Oh,
so another Maud.
yeah.
And then she even has in Betsy in Spite of Herself, Betsy spells her name with an E at the end. She tries for a while and then she's like, no, I'll just go back to how it was.
You inspired me to, I picked those up and I just finished Heaven to Betsy. And I'm starting In Spite of Ourselves because I had only read the first 4. So I loved Heaven to Betsy. So I'm excited.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, because she's very boy crazy. She definitely is. But it was fun because she was just going to write the first 4 books. And then she was looking back on her high school journals and like, oh my goodness, I was such a silly girl. But her husband Delos saw it and was like, you have to continue the Betsy book. Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, it's funny because now I'm coming to them, just me as an adult alone, because I read the first 4 with my child. So it's been really fun. So, but yeah. Anyway, I know it is fun, and I have a lot of fond memories of that. Of the reading them and then naming my daughter.
Yes.
So this is a short story collection, one of her short story collections. And this, I would say, is actually a little more sad and darker, but for some reason it rings a little more true that way, because some of her things, can be a little really sweet or very idealistic. So, but this one I love because I think part of it is she's so good at the sea descriptions, living near the sea. She just was so good. So I love this one. And
also maybe she had kind of a sad life, didn't she?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So I would be definitely intrigued in reading those, and kind of when you want something with an ache in it. It would be beautiful, I'm sure.
Well, and if you really want an ache, you could read her diaries.
I have heard.
Yeah. I mean, and I've read only the first 2, so there's 5 of them, I think. But and it's really interesting getting a Canadian woman's perspective on the world wars too, because those are happening. So that's really interesting.
Yes.
So, and then of course the Blue Castle. Blue Castle.
That I have to reread it this year. It has to happen.
Right.
And it's just, it's funny because I remember I've only read it 2 times, but the second time I start reading it, I'm like, oh no, is this not going to live up, to what I thought of it? Because it takes it a little while to become as glorious as it does.
Yeah.
But when it does, it's sublime. It's so good.
Yeah. And I think for me, it's the second chance thing again, because it's kind of this young girl, who's had kind of a rough life, and now she gets a second chance. She gets a new lease on life, kind of,
Yeah.
So. And then Jane of Lantern Hill. Have you read this one?
I haven't. I love that one.
Oh, good. So my name, Amy of Hearthridge, where does that come from?
Oh.
So I read this at a really rough time. In hindsight, I had postpartum depression, maybe a little bit.
Oh my goodness.
Well, for some reason, I grabbed this off my shelf, and it has nothing to do with what I was going through, but it was so sweet and so hopeful, and it really helped me. And so then I kind of took that as my online handle, because Hearthridge is like part of where we live, but then I put my name in. So that's where my handle comes from. It's Jane of Lantern.
How special.
So I haven't seen this movie. Have you seen the movie?
You know what? I haven't seen the movie.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I haven't either. So, but
maybe part of why it was so soothing to read is that it had nothing to do with what you were going through.
Maybe
kind of just to take you out of that situation and just give you a break from it. Yes.
Anyway, sorry for a little bit of the technological trouble there. So.
No problem. Not at all. I think this was delightful and people will enjoy it. And thank you so much for being a guest.
Yes. Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.